Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a fantastic week. My name is Illumineer Franz from Tavern. We just got back from Miami a few days ago, and I am joined here today by Trey, aka Cabled on Twitter. Sneaky is not here right now. May he join us later? Not sure, but right now he is not here. But welcome, Trey. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
It's always tough coming back from vacations, going right back into a week of work. But this one's felt pretty fast. Although I am feeling kind of fatigued for it really easily, and I mean,
Oh yeah, I definitely got the con crud. Um, I was slightly feeling it Monday night, and
yeah,
then Tuesday I took the day off. I was just like, I can't work,
that's fair.
but a little bit better. You can probably kind of hear it in my voice, but it's not it's not bad. I'm
Yeah.
fine now.
I think I've been choking back vitamin C every day, including when I was at Miami, because I hate getting con crud so much. But I feel it kind of sneaking up in the back of my throat. That might be my weekend this weekend.
For sure.
All right. Well, we are here to do a few things. Not first and foremost, but mainly we're going to be recapping the largest event held in Lorcana history. That history being only a few months, but still, at the Miami PBG event, we hit cap at register of 256. Day of, there were less people that showed up. I think we started round one with 214. Is that correct?
I believe it was around like 214, 215.
Yeah.
There was 240 deck lists submitted,
Mm-hmm.
but only round one started with that amount.
Sounds good. We went 8 rounds. Cut to top 32. Oh, sorry, cut to top 16 with 32 getting prizing. 16 played in day two, and we had some finalists. We had a meta that was pretty much what most people expected, with a few outliers, but we'll talk about that. First of all, though, through the rest of the week, we've gotten quite a decent amount of reveals. I'd say we're getting closer to that 50% mark. I think we're at mid 30s right now for Rise of the Floodborn, even though we're what, like 3 weeks out.
Yeah, we're at 31% in about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so they're starting to ramp up, and we're ramping up with them. I'm not sure where the reveals stopped at Miami and started this week, so I'm going to take a hard line at and starting at Li Shang, because I remember looking at the Nicholas Cole uh, scar while I was on the bus going to my flight on Monday. So we'll start here. We have Li Shang, 5 cost, Inkable, 3/6, 2 lore, and the ability Archery Lesson. Whenever this character quests, your characters gain evasive this turn. They can challenge characters with evasive. What are we thinking about this card, Trey?
I think it's just meta dependent on if there's evasives or not. Just like with the Steel Simba, I forget what the actual tag name is, but the one that has pounce.
Is it
That
Future King or
I
Return to King or
think
something like
so.
that?
That was played a little bit in
Yep.
the early meta for set one, and now it's kind of just gone. And I could see a similar situation where it'll just be dependent
Mm-hmm.
on if you need evasive answers or not.
And if anything, this does have a pretty decent sized body for the cost, while having 2 lore
Mhm.
and a small upside. So right now, that's essentially what I see it as. I see it at I kind of put it in a similar vein to the Beast, the Steel Beast from last set, where it was like kind of middling stats and 2 lore for 5, but it did do something that was very niche to the meta, and it did see a decent amount of play once Ruby Amethyst started playing a lot of items, and now it's a staple in probably the top or second best deck. Uh, will this see the exact same? Maybe. If we see a heavy like Ruby Emerald evasive deck, this might see a lot of play. Until then, I'd say this card might be pretty mid, but its possibilities are endless. Speaking of possibilities are endless, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, action song, uninkable, 3 cost. Return chosen character of yours to your hand and play another character with the same cost or less for free. Now, I remember seeing this card exactly like when I landed Monday night when I got back. This card blew up on my feed. Everyone went crazy about it. I think this card is one of those cards. It has huge potential. I think it is very in your face with how good it could be. But I think it just strictly depends on what other cards we get that go with it. Currently, I think I see um, I see like some like shift stitch and then bibbidi bobbidi boo into like the Mickey to make other things less expensive. And
Hmm.
there are a few others that I find interesting, but I don't see something at least as of now where I'm like, this is insane. This is taking over the meta. What do you think?
I kind of agree. It might be like a combo build around. I don't know if we fully have the ruling on Lady Tremaine playing it can bring it back. I believe you can, just because the ruling of if something's banished, it goes right in the discard.
Yes,
I assume
yes,
when you play an action, it just goes right in the discard. So you can return this if you bring back, let's say, a shifted Tinkerbell
yep,
to bring in Lady Tremaine. You can grab Bibbidi Bobby and just keep repeating that, doing one damage to the whole board. But with resist, I don't think that's going to be the actual combo play people will play with it. But
yeah.
I
I
can
feel like
definitely
this
see
will
it
be
being,
definitely be used to just bring out big bodies and
yeah,
like just cheat out cards that weren't meant to be played on like turn 3 or 4.
yeah. And my favorite thing with this card is getting back that inkable shifted card you shifted on top of,
Yeah, huge.
so you don't lose on that card advantage.
Yep. All right. We're gonna speed through the next few cards. Tigger, 3 cost, 3/3, 1 lore. Whenever you play an action, this character gains +2 power, strength until the end, until this, strength for this turn. Cool card, cool art. But I think we are getting very close to being past, combat tricks. I think this looks like a pack filler card to me right now. What do you think?
Similar thought. I could see it maybe getting some play with resistance.
Mm-hmm.
I believe resistant will be meta defining, and if you need that extra power, this is going to be perfect in your Ruby deck.
All right. Uh, we have another fantastic art from Nicholas Cole, but this one is put onto a vanilla in the Donald Duck Deep Sea Diver. We also have the Minnie Mouse zipping around. 6/5 1 ink and 3/2 sorry 6/5 1 lore and 3/2 1 lore for 2 and 5 respectively. Decent stats for cards, but vanillas are vanillas at this point. Going to move on. This
Yeah.
card, this Daisy Duck, I think is really interesting. 4 cost, inkable, 2/3, 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Now, this is, I believe, 2 stats below. Well, it's like one strength, one defense below the vanilla 4 cost, 2 lores, and they're saying that the two there equals opponent discarding a card. I think that is I think it's undervaluing this. I would think that this card would be either uninkable or like a 2/2. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like with it having two lore, it should be uninkable with its ability, but since it is inkable and two lore, it just seems like as long as you're playing an aggro emerald deck, this is just always added.
Yeah, like similar to Flynn, I think like this card is just going to be something that you want to see on 4 almost every time,
Hmm.
and especially if you're adding in the Prince John, going like Flynn, Prince John, Daisy Duck just feels like a good curve out, and you're gonna get some cards off of it.
Yeah, that's the main issue with emerald. Any emerald deck is your draw power,
Yep,
and with Prince John and any of the other discard, you can actually stay in the game instead of rely on top deck or be too aggro where they can't catch up.
exactly. All right, moving on. We have the beefiest boy, Goofy Night for a Day, 9 cost inkable, 10/10 4 lore. This card is a it's a big boy, and as with all vanillas, there needs to have a very specific niche to use this. I think a specific niche that could make this card playable is either having a 9 cost shift that you can bibbity bobbity boo, or just having a different way to cheat this out. Until we get one of those, I think this is relegated to being an insane card in limited, and Knive can have a good time with that.
Yeah, I will say some Sapphire Steel decks with like Bell and
Yeah, those
Whole
do
New
ramp up
World.
really fast.
Some of those decks do play like one or two of Maui,
Mm-hmm.
and this will just be an easy trade off. It's if it's gonna get removed by a Dragonfire or something, it's one extra cost, and you're already gonna be above 9 ink anyways.
Yeah,
That deck goes to like 15 plus ink easily.
yeah, makes sense. Maybe we'll see one or two copies of this card in a Sapphire Steel deck. Maybe we'll see something Emerald be a 9 cost shifter, and then we can play Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo and just throw this down. I think that would be really funny.
Yeah.
We have Queen of Hearts, 2 costs uninkable, 1/2 lore. When you play this character, deal 1 damage to chosen damaged opposing character. This card looks not good to me in almost every aspect. I don't like that it's not inkable. I don't like that it's 1 attack. I don't like that it's only 2 defense. The 2 lore is great, and the on place effect to damage an opposing damaged character already. You and I have both played this game for a decent amount of time. You and I both know that if you're leaving damage on your opponent's characters, you're generally not doing things correctly. I think this card is next to unplayable.
I will add the caveat where this might be playable if you play the 1/3 for 1 stat line
Mm-hmm.
and your opponent quests with you as well, and they have a 2/2. You can just challenge that 1/1 and then play this queen down
Mm-hmm.
and remove and banish that 2/2 1 drop character.
Yep.
And so now you have 3 lore on your board, and your opponent won't have an answer for next turn.
Fair enough. All right. Moving on to a extremely interesting card, Grandpappy. We have 7 cost uninkable, 3/6 for 3 lore, and the ability to whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you may gain 2 lore. Now this is a very interesting card with pretty interesting card design that kind of sent people off onto the path of buying out Hakuna Matata and buying out Prince Jasmine earlier today. Please don't buy out cards based off reveals. Please don't buy out cards based off reveals. Um, it looks like a pretty interesting card, and at the very least, a 3 lore card with some extra utility that can happen immediately when you play it. I think makes this card a lot more viable than some other cards that are say like 6 or 7 costs and need to stay on the board for at least a turn before it starts being active. I think this is definitely interesting. I think some Sapphire Steel decks may look to play this, as well as some Sapphire Amber decks with Hakuna Matata and Rapunzel, both Rapunzels now, to play this and just be able to get some lore. This also continues the trend of Rise of the Phone Board, giving out extra lore that isn't by questing. So I think this is very interesting card design. I think I'm gonna reserve judgment on it until I see the rest of the set.
Yeah, it's hard to judge this as well, just because your opponent can just not leave stuff exerted and kind of just
Yeah,
fill up the board, especially if this is not paired with Be Prepared, a Ruby deck. So you could just hold back your board, leave no options to get damage on the board. That's why my initial thought was to pair this with Amethyst, because you have um the Elsa, all the freeze stuff,
mm-hmm,
all
mm-hmm.
the exert chosen characters. So I could see that being played, and you'll just have to use like coconut baskets for healing, or Jasmine.
Yeah. Another interesting pair with this card is just the Floodborn Cinderella to just challenge unexerted things and and
Yep.
just slap someone in the face and then heal and then get the 2 lore anyway from the Cinderella. So very interesting card. I'm excited to see where this goes.
You know, this card can also take people by surprise.
Oh,
You
hey,
know, if
there's a Sneaky.
a
Welcome in, Sneaky.
dingle hopper or a coconut baskets, or you know the baby not the baby but the old baby Cinderella.
Yep.
Something that can already heal sitting on the board.
Yeah.
You know, they can amp up some damage, then drop this, and then you know baskets, dingle hopper, whatever. And then suddenly they gain 6 lore, and you're like, what just happened?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely an interesting card. Very, very excited to see where that goes. Here is another just emerald on curve card that looks like it can be pretty crazy. Lucifer, Sneaky Cat, 5 cost uninkable, 2/2. The ability when you play this character, each opponent chooses and discards 2 cards or 1 action. Now you see this card still looks good, and it's uninkable and 2/2 for 5 cost. It like Daisy continues to make less and less sense to me as a design, although I guess Daisy does need to stay on field. Even with these debuffs, I think this card looks pretty nuts.
Yep, I agree. I do like that you have the choice as the player doing 2 cards or 1 action.
Yeah.
It makes me think if there's gonna have other ones like this, like characters or anything like that.
Sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it because of that choice. Like you're hoping to get the 2 for 1, but you might just get the 1 for 1. It kind of really just depends on how important your opponent's actions are. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some super strong actions in the game right now, so making them have that choice is important. But it's that 5 cost uninkable, man. Like
True.
it's just hard including those expensive uninkable cards. It's a difficult choice to make between them, and I think maybe if the discard deck like really pops off, then maybe it makes the cut. But I'd have to see what else is available. Like we've been seeing a lot of discard synergy, but I think there's enough other stuff that's available within that genre that this card just might not make the cut.
Yeah, fair enough. And it is a rare. What's the rarity on Daisy? Daisy's an uncommon. Man, Daisy's such a good card.
Yeah.
Every time I look back at Daisy,
Daisy's
gonna be like Flynn, where it's gonna be like $2 at the start.
yeah, Flynn was like $7 for like a hot minute.
I was like 1 day.
All right, moving on. We have some more vanillas. We have Illumineer, 7/7 lore for 7, and another Amethyst 1-drop 2/2. What do you guys think about same color getting a different 2/2?
I like it.
Yeah.
Gives people a chance to pick their favorite character or one of the favorite out of if there's only 2 choices. And packs need filler. I'm not against it. I really like it actually.
Packs need filler. I'm totally down. They got nothing against it.
Yeah. Plus, like when you look at it from a limited format, like they need to include
That's true.
Cards like this in every set. So.
All right. Moving on, we have a Cruella de Vil, 2 mana inkable, 3/2, 1 lore, and the ability during your turn this character gains evasive. Now, this is similar to the Peter Pan never landing, but Peter Pan was 3 cost if I'm correct, right?
No, Peter Pan has evasive naturally.
Yeah, but that was also a 3 cost, right?
Yeah.
So this essentially trades having evasive during your turn for having evasive naturally, which I think is more important on a lower cost evasive card to try to take out stuff like Pascal. I think this is a very interesting card, and having it on Sapphire makes sense because we have the same thing in Robin Hood. It also makes me interested to see what other evasive support we have this set now that they're introducing some more lower costed ones.
I will say too that thanks.
Love it.
That this is not power creep if you compare it to Minnie Mouse down a little bit below. She's just a vanilla 3/2/1 for 2. But like you have to remember that different ink has different identities. We already know that Sapphire has that reach with Robin Hood. And so that's just what this color has. And I will say that I don't want to say it right now, but I think this Cruella might be my favorite art for this whole set.
Wow. Over the Honey Wizard.
Yeah, Honey Wizard's cool and all, but like just look at that smile.
Just look at that smile.
The smile. I will say this is overrate in general when it comes to 2 costs, similar to how Simba was overrate. And Simba's like a 4 of in every Amber deck because of how good it is.
Yeah, it's legitimately the same thing as in terms of Sima with stat wise.
Yep.
But that actually brings up a good point because that's what I was talking about in the Discord earlier today when this card got revealed. Is I think we're gonna see this replace a lot of fills because
Mm-hmm.
the whole fill Grandma Tala thing's cool. It's great. No, a lot of the Amethyst Sapphire decks don't even run Grandma Tala. They're just running fill just for the sake of or Amber Sapphire, sorry. Just for the sake of being able to deal with turn 2 Simba.
Yep.
And so this card does that while also giving you the option of dealing with Pongos, Tinkerbells, Pascals. So I think we'll see a lot of fills comes out of lists and a lot of this come in because of that flexibility of dealing with that early aggro and those evasive threats.
Yep.
Yeah, and that
Sapphire
was
doesn't have a lot of answers for right now.
yeah. I was just about to say that is like one of the issues with that deck is the evasives. Your only answer is really
Let it
a
go in
5-cost
Hades.
Robin or 6-cost Robin.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, 6 cost. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Very cool to see. Seemingly really good cards in common slot. I'm all for it. Can't wait to see this. Bolster up those Sapphire decks. Now we have Sword in the Anvil. 1 cost item, uninkable. And the ability is pay 2 and exert to have a chosen character gain +1 strength for each damage token on that character until the end of this turn. There are already so many good items in Ruby. I just don't really see the need for this yet, but I think it could be another shield situation where we all see shield immediately. We're like, oh, that's overcosted for the ability, blah 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 blah, and then we see it in context. And we're like, wait, shield's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I don't know how to evaluate this because in my mind I keep going like you need to get challenged first to get the effect of this. And then usually if you get challenged, majority of the time it just gets banished right away. And so I just maybe this is good for like a ready up decks
Mm-hmm.
to do an initial challenge, get the damage, proc this, and then challenge something that's way tougher to beat. But I don't know. It just seems awkward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. In context of current meta, I don't think it's very good.
Yeah.
I think this might come into play if we see resist take over the meta, and you need that extra strength.
Understandable. Yeah.
In order to start dealing with opposing threats.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, we have the most aggro card I've seen in like a hot minute. We have Enchantress, 2 cost, inkable, 1/1, 2 lore. Whatever this character is challenged, this character gains +2 strength. Wow, like this just feels like a good card. Especially with the resist and a lot of people talking about potentially dropping the Tinkerbell engine / the grab your swords engine, maybe. Like if that happens, like this just steps in and be like, hey, aggro is still here. I'm going to punch you in the face, and you're going to punch yourself in the face, removing me. I think this is just a good card.
It's kind of like just a 2-cost version of a cat, basically.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm not sure that you take this over Flynn, or maybe you run both in your decks, but it'll be interesting to see where people make that decision between the two.
Yeah, I can see both this and Flynn at your 2-cost. Maybe you'll have another 2-cost if you're super low aggro.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is probably going to be the most expensive common. Even though we've only seen 30% of this set, it just seems so good.
Yeah, it just feels like it's going the same way as Flynn. Is just an aggro common. Oh no, sorry, Flynn's uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
What's a common? Like it was Simba. Simba's the only common that was really expensive.
Simba was, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this just feels like even if you're playing Flynn, like there are multiple times when I'm playing Emerald where I'm like, if I don't see Flynn, I feel really bad on 2. So just like having 8 cards that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play this on 2 and just feel really good about it. Feels good.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we have the man, the myth, 11, the legend, Cobra Bubbles, 7 cost, 5/9. He is a big boy. I love his art. His art is fantastic. Vanilla. I just wanted to say I love his art.
Yeah, he's just Triton, right?
Yes.
I believe exactly like Triton too.
Yeah, I believe he's exactly Triton. And then the most recent reveal, like an hour before stream or so, we have Mulan reflecting 4 cost Floodborn, 3/3 inkable 2 lore, shift 2, and whenever this character quests, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a song card, you may play it for free, otherwise put it on top of your deck. Now, I looked at this card for a good.
Sneaky, just
Hadn't
seen it
this
for the
card
first
yet.
time.
Oh, you haven't seen this card yet?
No.
This
Okay.
card, it seems like it feels extremely high rolly to me, unless we get a decent amount more stacking cards, which we have a decent amount now. But I will not be caught dead playing Reflection.
Yeah.
If there's like
You know-
good amounts of like scry available to us soon, I mean, like we already have it with like Ursula's Cauldron. Like if you can like Ursula's Cauldron, put a friends on the other side on top, and then shift this, just draw 2 cards. It just feels so. It's like you're playing Digimon. Just shift on top, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, it in a vacuum, this is broken ban-worthy card, like getting free actions to play.
Yeah.
But you have to deck build around it.
Yep.
Some decks are already doing that with 12 to 16 songs.
Yep.
But then on top of that, you're going to have to play Reflection, which is just a bad card, to set up this process, or Cauldron, which, depending on your deck, is a bad card or not if you have the inkable space for it.
Yep.
So I don't know how I feel about it fully.
I think it's
but
one of those
it has
things where it's
potential.
like I need to see the rest of the set, especially because like there's gonna be like a 1 or 2 cost Mulan to go with this, and that could make or break this card as well as some other things. It's a very interesting card, and it's definitely something that I'm gonna keep an eye on. And it's definitely something that I will like regardless. I'll probably pick up 4 copies just to stash for the future. But it's a wait and see thing. I think it's pretty interesting. Sneaky, how do you feel after seeing this for the first time?
Yeah, I was blown away. Like you said, it's not immediately OP ridiculous because there is stacking and stuff involved. But yeah, I mean with the amount of song matter stuff and action matter stuff that we've already seen and that is coming, I think it's a really good card. Like you said, if you can filter your deck, then it's even better. But I don't even think you need to be able to still make this a valuable card. Like sometimes just hitting that high roll is going to be where it's at, and if you build your deck around it, then you're going to be hitting it more often than not.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a super cool card, and it's one of those ones where just as we get more songs and they become more important, then it just gets better. Like you said, pick the card up, and if it's not meta relevant now, there's a good chance it will be in the future.
Yeah. Can you imagine flooding your board and then playing this really top card of your deck and it's just be prepared?
That'd be funny.
Also,
I don't think you run that.
Yeah, no.
Particular combo.
Actual
it does say may play, so
may
you don't
play.
have to play it.
That's fair.
You can keep it on top.
Actual question I have, does this? Okay, so this does not get around Tiana. Because Tiana specifies can't play rather than can't play from a can. Tiana specifies just cannot play actions.
Correct.
So so this does not get around Tiana. So good and
my thing
interesting.
My thing right now that I'm just seeing in my head is just like shifting Cinderella Stout-Hearted, then questing with this and playing some ridiculous song and just like laughing yourself to the bank.
100%. All right, so that is all the reveals we have for today.
There's actually a couple more. If you go to the promo setting, we have 3 promos.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that from today?
So
Okay.
these three.
That was last night.
Yeah, these were from the from the news announcements. Yeah, Rapunzel 5 cost 0/6. Floodborn for 2 lore, shift 3. Whenever you remove one or more damage from one of your characters, you may draw a card. Um, I it's okay. I feel underwhelmed a bit by the card. Um, 2 lore is cool. 0 strength is not cool. 6 willpower is very cool. Seems okay. Um, don't think it's like fantastic though.
That's how I feel. It seemed, if you compare it to the previous Rapunzel,
Yeah.
it's not as good just because you have to wait for something else to be damaged and you have to heal with something else instead of only one of those scenarios being. But you can probably build around this like with the Pappy,
Yep.
but it, who knows? It does make me feel like there will be a low cost of Rapunzel. It could be Amber's 222 for 2.
Makes sense. Yeah. Sneaky.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like, it's not as good as the current Rapunzel, um, and don't see a lot of places where you would replace one with the other. But maybe run both. I don't know. So
Sure.
we'll see how this healing matters stuff ends up working out. But right now, yeah, it's pretty slow,
Yep.
and doesn't offer a lot of board presence. So we'll see.
All right. Moving on.
And
We
I just
have
I will
I just want Dinglehopper to be meta again, yo. That's
one
all I
day.
want.
One day.
it could I
There
will
there
add
was
though,
one day where Dinglehopper was meta.
One day. It was like
that's
the second. It
true.
was like the second day of gameplay reveal.
Yes.
I will say this Rapunzel and I think all 3 of these are uncommon rarities.
They are uncommon. All 3 of them. Yes. All right. Pinocchio, 2 cost, uninkable, 1/1 lore. When you play this character, you may exert a chosen opposing character. So this is freeze on a 1/1 body. I don't know, man. Just I'd rather just play 3 cost Elsa at that point, to be honest.
It's it's better than
Yeah.
freeze.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Indeed,
Yes.
correct. Better than freeze. Um, but this feels like pack chaff slash um draft winner type thing.
I could see that.
Yeah. Anyway, 4 dozen eggs. Even though he's not juggling 4 dozen eggs, flavor loss, heavy flavor loss. Um, although you actually could be a flavor win because Gaston is just over exaggerating everything. So I'll give it in the middle, for now.
He's already eaten the first 3 dozen, man.
True. You have four cost song. Your characters gain resist +2 until the start of your next turn. Man, 4 cost feels heavy for this, but resist also feels so good. I don't I don't know what to think about this card. I think it could be really really good and it could be really really bad. I can see instances where it is a 4 of or a 0 of and collecting dust in every single bulk bin in the world.
Yeah. I think since it's a song, it has merit.
Yes.
But if it wasn't a song, that 4 cost seems like a lot, but +2 resistance, that's just nuts.
+2 resist is field. That's 2 grandfather clocks on the field.
Yep. And there's currently a debate right now in the rulings thread about whether it, and it really should matter, but like, you know, if you get your timing and your sequencing correct, but it might, of whether it only applies resist to characters that are on the field when you play the card, or if it acts as an aura, and regardless of what order you play your characters in, that the resist +2 is just a global effect.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, the way I read it immediately is whenever something says your characters, it's just in that instance if the card itself is not staying on the field.
That's how I feel.
So unless rulings comes out later saying that a card like this is specifically like targeting the player rather than the cards, um, I'm going to play slash think of it as it's just targeting the cards on the field at the moment. But could be wrong, and could be irrelevant in like 5 days. So um, I think either way, this card is interesting, and regardless of that ruling, I could see it being good or bad. Okay, that's enough of the reveals. Now we can move on to really juicy um, information that was given to us last night around like just randomly at like 8 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. So like 5 o'clock on in their time. So that kind of makes sense. So we have big long post here. I'm going to just essentially paraphrase. Essentially, Disney Lorcana is clarifying that the restock of the first set that was meant to happen in October is starting to go out in the next week. So please check your local game stores. They should be either getting some or hearing information about it soon. They're also saying that they're moving up the reprint of the first chapter from December to November. Notably, it was a dual reprint with Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and I don't think there's anything stating about the Chapter 2 reprint in December either being there still or moving until later. So yeah. And then I think the juiciest information is that starting in Q2 of 2024, Disney Lorcana will be starting to host official fan events and official competitive circuit events. Now, this is the information that a lot of people have been really clamoring for the past essentially like 5 6 months. And I, for one, am extremely excited about all this, and I believe that the other two in call here are also really excited about competitive circuits.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the biggest thing that we still didn't know at the time. So what we do know is that in January, they will be giving more information about this, and hopefully we will start to get some dates and some locations. Also, I believe they said that competitors will be the premier events. You can expect them to have exclusive for each of these types of events. So, assuming different foiled or different art, or just different stamped promos for both of these events, both the competitive and the fan events. And I don't think there needs to be a lot of speculation on these events. Like competitive events, everyone knows these pretty well. The casual fan events is interesting, but I don't really know enough about those type of events to speculate on what those could be. I feel like they can range from anything from like meeting up in like a Disney park to, I don't know, buying a movie ticket or something like that.
Yeah, that was my idea for official fan event is
Yeah.
some kind of park event or movie event.
By the way, very interesting. Very excited to see these. This is also where we got revealed those promos. I think they also said that tournament guidelines will continue to update as the rules are updated, and that's really it. What are you guys' thoughts overall on this news that we got yesterday?
Very excited. I'm a competitive player at heart, so that just brings joy to me pretty much. um, I will say that this is just wild speculation on me, but Q2 is where Origins is in June, so that could easily be the first event location. But Origins is pretty big already without them because they usually have One Piece or Digimon or Battle Spirits. All those games are there with events. So
Yeah,
I don't know if they'll.
I think a lot of event coordinators saw the news that Gen Con got last year, and I think they're salivating about
Yeah,
trying to get Lorcana into their events.
yeah. Who knows if they're
Yeah,
gonna try to start with already established events
Yeah.
or do their own. Sorry to cut you off, Sneaky.
oh no, you're perfectly fine. I was gonna say I was gonna be the bad guy and be like, listen, It says Q2, but the first event might not be until Origins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it still might be another 8 months, y'all. So
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
take a long time,
be prepared.
and I fully want people to temper their expectations and not say, oh, Q2 looks
That's
like
April.
March/April. So
But yeah, I'm also excited for events. You know, I'm trying to get in on the judging side, and there's a lot of people that want to get on the casting side and stuff, and that just opens up opportunities for them. And we the interesting thing is, you know, the yesterday when we got this announcement, Rochelle had said that the Lorcana team was having a celebration at RB,
mhm.
and I'm wondering if they were having that because you know they finalized their competitive circuit for
Yeah,
the year.
that
You know,
would be that is
that's
interesting.
that's like that's like a thing to me that would be like worth celebrating because when I heard that I was like, what are they celebrating?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's so many
But
different
like,
things they could celebrate for.
yeah, like to me it's like that could be a cool thing. Like they finalized it, they've got it stamped and in paper, they know it's ready to go, and so now they can start talking about it. And
man.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah, this is just the type of stuff that like as soon as Lorcana was revealed, like I feel like a lot of people getting into this game who are pretty familiar with TCGs are like, oh man, I can't wait for Lorcana regionals. I can't wait for potential Lorcana worlds potentially at like Disney parks or something like that. So like this is just like huge information for a lot of people. I'm really excited.
Yeah. You know, and apparently this was in response to your Twitter post saying that you were coming for Worlds. You know?
Yeah, I'm coming for it. I'm excited, and I'm going to be um playing way too many games in between January and the very first event, which I guarantee I will be at, and I guarantee I will be probably on the bubble again by last round.
Hope I'm not.
I hope we're not either. All right.
Are we just gonna start calling you Bubblicious, Franz?
If anyone at Miami saw me during the event, the back of my jersey for a team that I play on for TCGs is my nickname is called the Bubble King, and that's because in Cardfight Vanguard, in official events, I have 9 confirmed 9th places, and it hurts just as much as you might think because they only cut the top 8.
Cable got a little bit of that feel this weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cable.
A
All
little
right.
bit.
Speaking of this weekend, we have the PPG Miami event, which all 3 of us attended. Cable and I played, and Sneaky judged. I'm actually interested in more. Sneaky, give us your rundown on how everything felt from like the judge slash tournament organizer side.
Yeah, this was my first time judging like a big event, which was super exciting for me. And the shout out to the PPG team. They were super welcoming, and made everything was like really streamlined. They did a good job of just making sure everybody was on the page about how calls are being handled and what we need to do, and making sure we all had the resources that we needed available. And from there, yeah, on the TO side of things, like I wasn't involved too much. People kept asking me logistical questions. They're like, "Judge, when's this happen?" Or what's? I'm just like, "Listen, man, I don't know. You got to ask the bald guy." And it was pretty funny on that part. But yeah, it was a really good experience. I think they did a good job in terms of making sure that the player experience was fairly seamless. I know that the rounds progressed smoothly. We didn't have any issues with repairs or anything like that, and there were only a couple instances of unsportsmanlike conduct or DQs for proxies or other situations like that, but that never made it to the players in the player base. They did a good job of handling that in such a way that it wouldn't impact the overall event. And yeah, I think it was run pretty smoothly, and that's the feedback that I've heard from most people in general.
Yeah.
Got a lot of thanks judges, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the way it was run specifically, and just the amount of like the people there, I think it was generally such a good vibe. Like I'm extremely down to do it again next year, or even if they want to do it once every 4 or 5 months or something like that, I'd be totally down to go to this again. I think it was such a fun it was a fun venue, a fun place, fun atmosphere, and everything about it. I think was extremely fun in terms of being at the event. Cable, what do you think about how everything was run?
Yep. I think it was ran really, really well. Looking back to my old like 2014 Pokemon regionals that usually had the same amount of players, it felt better than that.
Mm-hmm.
However, comparing to current Pokemon regional sizes, which is like
Yeah,
1,000 players, it obviously felt better than that. But comparing 200 players to 1,000 players, you're definitely going to have issues with the 1,000 players.
100%, and we'll most likely see that in maybe the first circuit of Lorcana. Probably not. I would say like maybe 2 to 5 years down the line, we'll probably start seeing those competitive circuits hit like
Yeah.
1,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we can dig into the nitty gritty, the word everyone hates, the meta. So we have a top 16 and a top 32 to break down. Top 16, we have 9 Amber Steel, 4 Ruby Amethyst, 1 Amber Sapphire, 1 Emerald Sapphire, and 1 Emerald Steel. I think most of these decks are decks that most people expected to be pretty heavily played. Yeah, even the Emerald Sapphire, Emerald Steel, a lot of people were clamoring about its aggro matchups into the Ruby Amethyst. Yeah, Ruby Amethyst, Amber Steel, I think is the pretty clear thought of top 2 decks, and I feel like they're fairly around the same level. Most people think. Here in the top 16, we don't see that, but in the top 32, we see that there are 14 Amber Steel and 12 Ruby Amethyst. This essentially means that on the bubble round, there was a lot of Ruby Amethyst versus Amber Steel, and Amber Steel took most of the majority of those down. Any other decks here? I think we have 1 Amethyst Sapphire, which is a really fun deck, and 1 Amber Ruby, the one steadfast deck, the one break deck. I am sure he is pumping his fist seeing this and being very happy. What do you guys
That's
think
actually
about?
Scott. That's actually Scott
Oh,
Landis
is that
too.
Scott?
Yeah.
Ah, there he is. What do you guys feel about how the meta developed for this event?
Seems pretty standard. Like the top 2 decks being the Amber Steel with their like 2 to 3 different
Yep.
variants, and then Ruby Amethyst with their 2 different variants as well. You should pretty much either play one of those 2 decks or take the gamble and try to play a deck that beats those 2 but
Yep.
then loses to everything else, because your meta field is going to be 50% of those 2 decks.
Yep. Sneaky, what do you feel?
Yeah, about the same thoughts. I mean, they're the 2 most popular decks and the 2 strongest contenders coming into the event, and they have been for the past couple of months. I hadn't been super up on the latest developments with the decks, and so the hybrid Amber Steel
Yep.
actually took me by surprise. And I guess people had been doing a lot of tweaking and refining, and that deck really just took over
Yeah, for sure.
the whole event, and you could see how dominating it was. But yeah, from the judge perspective, I mean, that's pretty much all I saw walking around tables was Amber Steel and Ruby Amethyst. Almost every single match had one of the 2 in it. Saw a couple of Emerald decks here and there, particularly Emerald Steel, and then the new Sapphire Emerald that had been
Yep.
trying to come out. But those decks got knocked out of contention pretty quick for the most part, because they have such a bad matchup versus Amber Steel, and it was so highly present. A lot of people were coming in prepared for the Ruby Amethyst meta, and they got smacked down by the Amber Steel. And that was kind of the thing, like, Cable talking about bringing in a deck that beats both of them. And that's really, really hard to find.
Yeah, I don't think one of those
be-
decks exists at the moment.
Yeah, because Amber Steel just wrecks anything aggro, and then Ruby Amethyst is if it's slow, then you're not winning.
Yeah, Ruby Amethyst is like
Because
if you're
they're
passing
gonna
on turns
outslow
1
you.
or 2, you're just kind of like demolished.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
closest deck I think that beats those top two decks is the Amber Ruby deck.
Mm-hmm.
It should just destroy any steel, I feel like, unless they're the aggro version.
Yep.
And then versus the Ruby Amethyst, it's honestly probably 50-50. It depends on how much heal you can get. If you're playing versus the evasive Ruby Amethyst deck, that player can just never play non-evasive characters and just quest behind them, and you can't draw with any heal.
All right.
Yeah, I was surprised actually not to see more Amber Sapphire because from my experience it had a good matchup into both of the decks. But I think the transition of the Amber Steel into the hybrid variant
Yep.
is what put the nail in the coffin for Amber Sapphire, and it wasn't able to deal with it the way it could either other variant in like it by itself.
I think the evolution going closer to evasives also messed with it with Amber Sapphire. You took away a lot of the early trading potential, and pushed more into like, hey, here's early lore to mess with your early lore as well, and let's just race. But I just have better top end cards essentially and better removal.
That's also
Yeah.
fair.
All right. This is the first place list piloted by Jose Feliciano. Anyone know if I'm saying that right?
I'm horrible at pronouncing names. So.
I apologize if I said your name wrong. Please correct me in the comments. You did great. I saw your last few games. They were fantastic. This seems like a pretty standard Amber Steel list. I don't really see anything too crazy. We see one of the Thinking Happy Thought, Captain Hook. This is obviously for the potential high roll shift over Forceful Duelist turn 3 into immediately Whole New World for the Ruby Amethyst matchup, or just being a card that has five willpower and can challenge for 5 and soaks up damage pretty easily for Rapunzel. And I know some people have been moving off of Lantern, but Lantern still just throws down these 1 cost early, and especially throws down those Simbas. We see the 3 Hades. Sometimes I see 2, but 3 is also fine. 2 Smash, but everything else seems pretty. Actually, we have 3 Rapunzel instead of 4 Rapunzel, but again, I think everything here seems pretty standard. What do you guys think?
Yep. And I think the 3 Rapunzel is like honestly the correct amount for this version of the deck, just because any smart Amethyst Ruby player will just play around it.
Yep.
And so majority of the time it just becomes ink after the first couple turns where you're like waiting. Okay, I can't use it, ink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only
with Rockstar and a Whole New World,
yep,
like the Rapunzel's value goes down a lot, you know.
Mhm.
Especially when you've got Whole New Worlds. Like if you're filling up your hand with Rapunzel, then you know it makes Whole New World harder to play, and especially if you're expecting to run into a bunch of a Whole New Worlds, like having a huge hand isn't beneficial.
Yeah, Dev, I was testing a lot for this event specifically, and I think the main reason I did not play Amber Steel was, my God, I hate that mirror. I can't stand it. It is so awful, and I was like, I cannot play this for more than like 3 or 4 rounds and expect and hope to feel good enough about myself to continue to play. So I moved off of it to what Cabled and I both played. We'll have both of our lists up in just a second, but we played the evasive version of Ruby Amethyst. I think we have about maybe 4 or 5 card differences here. I think the main difference in our list versus the rest of Brandon APK's lists are ditching the Gaston 2 cost for 4 of the Boisterous Duck Donald. I truly think Gaston is not a good card right now, especially into this meta with all the Amber Steel. I found that in the matchup, if you're going drop 1 cost or nothing, and then Gaston into their board, they can just do nothing, throw down an aerial and get a 2 or 3 for 1, and then you're just feeling absolutely awful if you don't have any card draw, and you essentially just lose on the spot and they don't even need to play a whole new world. So I wanted to play something that had 3 willpower to survive grab your sword, as well as have the ability to quest. Having the ability to quest won me a single game, and having 3 willpower won me a second game, because an Amber Steel player had to use 2 grab your swords instead of 1 to remove 2 of my Donalds, and then I was able to play down more cards later after that and be fine. Other than that, it's a very essentially it's Brandon APK's list, but I think we added more pocket watches, and that is pretty much it. Cabled, how did you feel about these decks specifically? If you want to talk about your deck as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Donald specifically won me individual games. I will say that I had a game with I had Donald out, I quested, and then in my deck I have a 2 befuddles instead of 2 jetsams. So I quested with Donald, played befuddled, be prepared, and wiped like 2 or 3 on their side of the board, and then replayed Donald just so I could save that lore for later while also wiping their board. And then in addition to that, just I prefer this evasive version because in the mirror match, you just try to go underneath them and you don't worry about time at all. I only tied once, and that was due to misplay on my part. Other than that, any of my mirror matches, I won either 2-0'd or won a very quick, less than 10-minute game 3.
I played 2 mirror matches, went to time in both of them, but both of those were won in the first game. So I am 1-1. I was 1-1 in those 2 mirror matches. In the second mirror match, I feel like that I really want the VOD of that match. I wish I could go back and find it. I wish someone would have recorded it, because I feel like I did something wrong in the late game. But in the end, I think the man just saw us be prepared. He played it extremely well. He was able to send his removal back, and he was able to take out my evasives. This is essentially just a, I don't know if it's easier, but it feels like a more simple version of the control deck, where you're playing a lot better ratios than the other control decks. If you want to take a look at one that has a bunch of crazy ratios, I think I don't know if Jay posted his list on Twitter, but if you look on Twitter, Jalen of Lorcana probably can find his list. I those types of lists I feel decrease consistency a lot. Whereas this deck has a lot of 3s and 4-ofs, and you're like a few 2-ofs, 1-ofs, and those are generally just the items, and you want to see all the items almost all the time. And just almost every card past your 2 cost, like you want to see in your hand, you want to see multiple of them in your hand. Like I want to see at least 2 Maleficents, I want to see a Rafiki, I want to see all my Pongos, all my Goofies, 2 or 3 Maui, all my Aladdins, all my Ursulas, all my Elsas, all my Maleficents. Like just being able to have that consistency, I felt was super necessary, and having the evasives to go under the mirrors felt really good. I think for this meta, I think Cabled's list is probably better than mine. I think the 2 Jetsams were being a little bit too scared of Emerald Amethyst with their evasive cards, especially the Tinkerbell. So I think mine had more dead cards than needed. I feel like I could have used those befuddles, but overall I feel pretty happy with it. The only things I would want to try to add is maybe either Baby Elsa or Baby Aladdin, and maybe the vanilla 4/4 Elsa. But at the moment there aren't any events that I'm playing this deck in, so I think upgrading it right now is not totally what I'm going to be doing, but I may have a deck profile coming up in the next week or so about it. Cable, any thoughts on what you liked about the deck, how you felt about everything in general playing it, and anything you'd change?
Yeah, so I played 3 mirror matches. I beat 2 of them and lost to one of them, which my loss was to Colby, which got 9th place.
Mhm.
I don't know if they I believe their resistance made it to 9th place, but
Yep.
the reason why they beat me is twofold. One was they had the Jetsams and I didn't, and so my Pongos just kind of sat there and
Yep.
didn't gain any lore at all. And then they also had the 4 cost Elsa, so on 6 they were able to exert both of my Pongo and Goofy. So I just couldn't. They just pretty much just destroyed 6 to 10 lore on the spot. And in addition to that, on game 1, I felt like I should have been on the beatdown. So I was inking aggressively, and I inked 2 evasives, a Pongo and a Goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mirror match, especially in the evasive version, your less evasives you have, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I lost. And I'm glad I saw him make it to top 16 and then also got to top 9, basically pretty much not bubbled because it was single elimination, but I would count it as bubbled from getting top 8.
That's fair.
um, what I would change is I keep going back and forth with having befuddle, and I think I want to keep the befuddle. It helps, and I want to honestly probably change it to 3 instead of 2. It helps versus your aggro matchups, and it actually helps versus the hybrid or steel wheel decks where you either bounce back their hook or you bounce back the lantern.
Yep.
And either of those means they can't wheel on 3.
Yep. All right. Yeah. I feel that this deck was pretty developed to death, and there are still a lot of people that are going hard at it every day. I think I'm going to put it down for a little bit because I don't have any other events to play in for a while. I wish everyone else luck who is playing this deck. I had a great time playing it. I know Cable had enjoyed playing it
Yes.
as well. It was a very interesting tournament experience. I personally went 5-3. Cable, you went 5-2-1, right?
Yeah, I went 5-2-1 and bubbled at 33rd place by 0.22%.
Yep. And because I had an extra loss rather than a tie, I
Oof.
was in 40th place. Lost on. I was 6-2. Sorry, I was 4-2 going into. No, I was 5-2. Sorry, going into last round, and lost the game on the bubble round. The person I lost to came in, I believe, 10th, and then did he win? Yeah, it was Roger Pereira. He came in 6th place with Emerald Steel. My other lost Milton Amber Steel came in 5th. So two of my 3 losses came in the top 8. So I felt pretty good about it. All of my play I felt really good about, except for the last round where I kind of punted last game. But overall, I think I had a great experience. I'm very excited to potentially come back again for this Miami TCG, and especially for Lorcana events. I can't wait for Q2. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we head out of here?
I'll let you go first, Sneaky.
Okay, cool. Because I did have some. Well, first, I didn't want to jump in when y'all were talking about your decks too much, but it's crazy, hearing Trey talk about getting through 3 games with Ruby Amethyst, because there were so
Yep.
many 0-0 draws.
Yep.
So many. And y'all just talking about this, just the different versions of the deck and how that plays out is was pretty crazy. And also, like, from a judging standpoint, one of the things that really stood out to me was, in day 1, you got all the people. It was super stressful and crazy, and there were a lot of I'll talk about a couple different things. One, it was really cool going around and seeing like the different experiences people were having, because you had some games where it was just people that were just zoned in, and literally neither person was talking in the entire game. It was just, doing everything with hand motions, and like it was super fast play, and it was like super crazy.
I love those
and then you
games.
had
Yeah.
like, some and then you had like some others where you could tell people were like super nervous, and they're like, stressing out and stuff, and then where they're being super sweaty, and then other games people are literally just having like a ball, like they're
Yeah.
just joking around and playing and laughing like the whole time they're playing, and it was really interesting just to see just how different like everyone's experience was depending on who they're playing with, and who they were that were playing. And then one of the things that really stuck out to me was once day two went with top 16. So like I said, in day one there was some issues with like some people being super sweaty and stressed out and all this kind of stuff. But once top 16 came around, dude, it was like the people that were playing locals, man. It was so chill. Everyone was just hanging out, having fun, like just joking around, talking. Like as they're playing, it was all like super clean, super just friendly games. And that really stuck out to me. And I was talking to the head judge about it. I was like, dude, the difference between top 16 and qualifiers is insane.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, man, it's always like this, because the people that are, and I'm like, and my take was like, I expected top 16 to be, way more sweaty, because now they've really got, skin in the game. Like now they're actually fighting for, what was it, 4 cases, 2 cases, some nonsense like that.
2 cases first,
Two
for 1
cases,
case for second.
and it's just like, yeah, and it's just like the difference between coming in 16th and coming in first was huge.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I figured this would be so much more intense. He's like, no, man, it's just the people that are like that don't make it to top 16 because they're top cut, because they're not humble enough to set aside their egos and actually perform to the best of their abilities. And that was his take, and I thought that was really interesting, just because of how the disparity, like it was crazy how different top 16 was, and it was an awesome experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it kind of blew my mind. Like as a judge, I was just like, what is happening here? This is not this is not the same game that was being played yesterday.
I think this definitely mirrors other events that I've played in, I've topped in, and I've seen in general. Being nervous, especially when it comes to like being on the bubble. I think in the last 2 rounds, that's people are gonna be nervous, gonna be pretty serious, and it's pretty crazy. But if you're in the like if you're 5-0 going into round 6, you're just chilling, just having a nice walk down the street, and then once you finally get into top 16, you're like, well, I got to the point where I wanted to get at. I have not like either qualified for something or I have won something. So just might as well just play, man. Like every time I get into top 16, I'm always just feeling so good. As like compared to like the last 2 rounds of Swiss.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
ironically, like all the issues happened in the first 3 rounds.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I think ironically the most salty I've seen I saw someone was in round 1, and every other round everyone was great. It was fantastic. It was so funny. But yeah. Overall fantastic event. Props to everyone, every single person involved.
Make
What was that?
Yeah. I was going to do a little. I was going to say also, make when you're going into an event like this, make sure you know your deck and any rulings involved.
Yeah.
Because there was some super salty people that decked themselves out with a whole new world and didn't realize that meant they lost. Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, I said about an hour, and it's been
Yeah,
just a little bit above an hour. I'm
That's
getting
funny.
tired. I'm sure you guys
Wait,
are
my
getting
final
tired too.
thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, right, Cable. I thought you had.
Also,
Go.
Yeah, Cable's got thoughts.
Yeah, I will say with the evasive list, usually people like to play Tibbs with it just because like you have more Ruby cards. You're gonna probably play Tibbs. You should always just try to show less ink. But I played the Archimedes instead just to kind of throw people off, to make them think I was playing the typical Blue Broom version.
Mm-hmm.
And just small little mind games like that helps a lot, even if it's super minor. Someone can play differently, and then that one little mistake could cost them a game or not that it probably did. And then
But it could.
yes, it could. Any small chance to get an advantage, you should try to take it, as long as it's like ethical ways.
True.
And then shout outs to all my opponents. There's no issues with them at all. Everyone played at fast or fair paces. No one was slow playing, especially when we got to game threes, when we only had like 15 minutes left or whatever, or even less. I always play fast in general. And then when it comes down to game three, I play super fast, and my opponents didn't necessarily match pace, but they definitely picked it up, and I appreciated that. And then I believe at 21st place, Wade is one of the Lorcana twins. So shout out
Nice.
to Wade for getting top 32.
GG's. Him and Scott both. GG's to everyone
Yes.
who did well. And I'm very proud of every single person that did it. I think everyone absolutely deserved every single win that they got. It was really cool. All right. Fantastic stream. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Glad to have gone to Miami TCG and can't wait for competitive events. You can find Cabled at Cabled on Twitter. Sneaky, would you prefer to be shouted out by Sneaky or Glimmer Gang?
I don't really have any socials, so if you need to talk to me, Sneaky Buffalo on the Discord. I live in the rulings thread, and that's about it. And otherwise, you can find us on Glimmer Gang on YouTube, Twitter, and I don't know, probably some other places. I don't know what Teddy does.
Understandable. All right. Thank you guys for joining me, and I hope everyone has a great day. See you guys later at the tavern.